The titanium band whirled around her finger like a meditation wheel. With each turn came a vow to the deceased within 20 seconds. Laura Doris planned to demonstrate precisely what kind of error they had committed. Richmond Elite Academy possessed that distinctive early morning stillness, the type found exclusively in establishments where wealth purchases tranquility. Laura occupied the rear seat of her advanced mathematics class, her customary position near the glass, allowing surveillance of both the entrance and the century-old oak forest bordering the grounds. 5 weeks had elapsed since her arrival, sufficient time to comprehend the social hierarchy without becoming vulnerable. The band caught the dawn illumination, Semper Fidelis carved into titanium, her sibling Marcus's words resonating through eternity. Young sister, the most lethal individual in any space is the one whose approach remains undetected. Marcus had perished 8 months prior. Afghanistan, improvised explosive device, during a supposedly routine patrol. The identical week she claimed her third national martial arts championship. The identical week their existence shattered. Mrs. Henderson explained calculus derivatives when the entrance burst apart. Kevin Darius appeared as though he commanded the very oxygen others inhaled. 6 feet 2 inches of privileged physique, sporting equipment still gripped from dawn training. His gaze surveyed the space before settling on Laura. "There sits the issue," he declared, gesturing toward her. "This affirmative action admission believes she has earned her place." The classroom descended into graveyard silence. 23 pupils suddenly discovered their textbooks captivating. Mrs. Henderson's writing instrument hovered mid-calculation, her complexion draining of pigment. Everyone recognized Kevin Darius. More significantly, everyone recognized his father, Senator James Darius, whose surname adorned half the campus structures. Laura maintained focus on her notes. She had discovered long ago that hunters fed upon fearful responses. Instead, she completed another problem, her penmanship unwavering as her heartbeat. "I am addressing you." Kevin advanced into the space, his associates occupying the doorway behind him. 4 additional males in athletic gear, grinning like scavengers who had cornered something intriguing. The apex predators, their self-designation, Richmond Elite's unofficial authority squad. "Mr. Darius," Mrs. Henderson's voice fractured. "Please return to your instruction and inform me in the comments where globally you are viewing from. We appreciate witnessing how extensively these narratives travel. Whether you attend for the action, the emotion, or both, gratitude for participating in this mission." Kevin's amusement was sufficiently sharp to slice glass. "My lineage compensates your income, Henderson. Be seated." The instructor complied. Naturally, she did. Laura had witnessed this performance previously. Different venues, identical script, authority safeguarding authority while everyone else mastered looking elsewhere. "You comprehend what troubles me?" Kevin approached closer, his silhouette falling across Laura's workspace. "We possess a tradition here. 2 centuries of distinction. Then they commence admitting charitable cases." He leaned downward, his exhalation warm against her auditory canal. "Your category does not belong here." Laura's writing instrument ceased movement. In her peripheral observation, she noticed Rebecca Chen's terrified expression from 2 rows distant. Rebecca, who had commenced the term, bright and assured, now navigated corridors like a phantom. Laura had observed the transformation, catalogued it with other observations she had been accumulating. "Nothing to express?" Kevin's palm slammed upon her workspace. "Perhaps you lack English fluency. Perhaps you require a translator. Or perhaps," his hand moved toward her shoulder, "you simply need appropriate motivation." The instant his fingers made contact, everything transformed. Time expanded as it did in combat. Laura's muscle memory activated before conscious deliberation. Her left hand trapped his wrist while her body pivoted, utilizing his forward momentum against him. The workspace screeched as she rose, her right elbow connecting with his solar plexus in a strike that would have made Marcus proud. Kevin doubled over, gasping. The classroom erupted in gasps and scattered movement as pupils scrambled away from the sudden violence. But Laura was not finished. As Kevin straightened, rage replacing surprise, she saw what she had been seeking. The tattoo on his wrist, partially concealed by his expensive timepiece. A serpent coiled around the numeral 13. Her blood went cold. She had seen that symbol before, in the encrypted documents Marcus had left on the micro-storage device hidden in her band. Documents he had been investigating before his final deployment. Documents that suggested his death might not have been as random as the official report claimed. You insignificant. Kevin lunged, all technique abandoned for brute force. Laura flowed like water. Redirect, control, counter. A basic sequence she could perform blindfolded. His momentum carried him past her, and she assisted him along with a perfectly placed foot sweep. Kevin Darius, untouchable golden boy of Richmond elite, hit the floor face first with a sound like a dropped sack of potatoes. "Remain down," Laura said quietly, her voice carrying the kind of authority that comes from absolute certainty. "Trust me, you want to remain down." But Kevin Darius had never learned to remain down. He rolled, reaching for something in his pocket. A blade, brass knuckles, she couldn't tell. His crew started forward from the doorway. That's when Laura smiled. It wasn't a pleasant smile. The next 60 seconds would become legend at Richmond Elite, told and retold until the truth was indistinguishable from myth. But in that classroom, watching it happen in real time, it was something else entirely. It was watching someone trained for war remind civilians why that training existed. The first Apex member through the entrance went down to a spinning heel kick that connected with his jaw with surgical precision. The second attempted to grab her from behind, a mistake that ended with him gasping on the floor, his arm bent at an angle arms weren't meant to bend. Stop. Mrs. Henderson finally found her voice, but it was like attempting to stop a hurricane with a whisper. The third attacker, smaller but faster, actually managed to land a glancing blow to Laura's ribs. She absorbed it, used his overextension to throw him into his approaching teammate. They went down in a tangle of limbs and curses. Kevin was back on his feet now, the blade visible in his hand. A tactical folder, expensive and illegal on school grounds. "You're deceased," he snarled. "You comprehend who I am? You comprehend what my lineage can do? I comprehend exactly who you are." Laura's voice was conversational, almost bored. She shifted her stance slightly, weight balanced, hands open and ready. "Question is, do you comprehend who I am?" He charged with the blade, a wild horizontal slash aimed at her face. Laura ducked under it, her hand finding his knife wrist with the precision of someone who had done this drill 1,000 times. Pressure point. Nerve cluster. Involuntary release. The blade clattered across the floor as she continued the motion, using his own momentum to introduce his face to her rising knee. The crack echoed through the room. Kevin Darius dropped, blood streaming from his clearly broken nose. But as he fell, his sleeve rode up further, and Laura saw the full tattoo, not just a serpent and the number 13. There were names inked in tiny script along the snake's body. Names of girls. She recognized one of them. Melody Harrison, a scholarship student who had supposedly transferred back to public school last year after a nervous breakdown. Only Laura had done her homework. Melody Harrison hadn't transferred. Melody Harrison had disappeared, and her family had suddenly come into enough money to leave the state entirely. The rage that flooded through Laura then was different from the cold precision of her training. This was personal. This was the kind of fury that had sent Marcus halfway around the world to fight monsters, only to discover the real monsters had followed him home. "You're finished," she said, standing over Kevin's writhing form. "All of you. Whatever sick game you've been playing, it ends now." One of the Apex members, still conscious enough to speak, laughed bitterly from the floor. "You have no idea what you've stepped in. This goes all the way." "Shut up," Kevin spat blood, glaring at his teammate. But the damage was done. Laura had confirmation that this wasn't just bullying. This was something organized, something protected, something that had been feeding on students like Rebecca Chen for who knew how long. Sirens in the distance. Someone had finally called security. Laura straightened her clothes, barely breathing hard despite having just dismantled 5 attackers. She walked back to her desk, picked up her notebook, and calmly finished the equation she had been working on. Everyone witnessed what occurred. She addressed the room without looking up. "He attacked first." They all did. "You all witnessed it." Heads nodded frantically. Even the Apex members' girlfriends, the ones who usually provided alibis and excuses, were nodding. There was something about watching their boyfriends get systematically destroyed by a girl half their size that had shifted perspectives. Mrs. Henderson stood frozen by the whiteboard, chalk dust settling around her like ash. "Laura, the administration will want to. Your mother will be called." "Good," Laura said. "Tell them to bring lawyers. Theirs are going to be busy." School security burst through the entrance, followed by 2 Richmond police officers. Laura recognized one of them, Officer Mitchell, who had been at every school function, always seemed to be wherever the apex predators gathered. His hand went to his weapon when he saw the bodies on the floor. "Everyone freeze!" "You," he pointed at Laura. "Hands where I can see them." Laura raised her hands slowly, the picture of compliance. But she was already thinking 3 moves ahead. The officer's reaction told her everything. He was part of it, the protection, the cover-ups, maybe even the trafficking itself. "She attacked us," Kevin groaned from the floor, trying to stem the blood flow from his nose. Unprovoked. "This psycho just went crazy. That's not true." The voice surprised everyone, including Laura. Rebecca Chen stood up, trembling but determined. "Kevin came in here to hurt her. We all saw it." He pulled a blade. "Sit down, Miss Chen." Officer Mitchell's voice carried a warning that had nothing to do with maintaining order. "You're confused about what you witnessed." But Rebecca didn't sit. Instead, she pulled out her phone. "I recorded it. The whole thing." The room went silent again, but this time it was the silence of held breath, of a moment balanced on a knife's edge. Laura watched Officer Mitchell's face cycle through calculations. How many witnesses? How many phones might have been recording? How much could be covered up? Everyone's phones. Now, Mitchell ordered. "This is evidence in an active investigation." "No!" Laura's voice cut through the tension. "That's not how this functions. Rebecca, upload that video to the cloud. Stream it live if you have to. Everyone else do the same with whatever you recorded. You're interfering with—" "I'm preserving evidence," Laura interrupted. "Unless you want to explain why you're attempting to confiscate phones before taking witness statements, before even checking on the injured. That would look interesting in court." She could see the moment Mitchell realized he was trapped. Too many witnesses, too many variables. The age of smartphones had made the old ways of burying problems much more complicated. Everyone remained calm, he said finally. "We'll need statements from everyone." Laura allowed herself a small smile. Round 1 was over, but the fight had just begun. As EMTs arrived to deal with the apex predators, she caught sight of something that made her blood run cold. Kevin, being loaded onto a gurney, was texting one-handed. The message was brief, but she caught enough to read. "The package knows. The package." Is that what they called their victims? Her phone buzzed. "Unknown number. Single message. You have no idea what you've started. Your brother couldn't stop us. Neither will you." Laura's hand tightened on her phone until the case creaked. They knew about Marcus, which meant Marcus had known about them, which meant his death. Miss Doris, another officer, this one she didn't recognize, approached carefully. "We need to take your statement." "Of course," Laura said, slipping her phone away. She'd forward that message to the FBI contact Marcus had hidden in his files. The one marked, "in case of emergency," the one she'd hoped never to use. As she was led from the classroom, Laura passed Rebecca Chen. Their eyes met, and in that moment, an alliance was born. Rebecca had more courage than anyone had given her credit for. And if Laura's suspicions were correct, Rebecca had information that could blow this whole thing wide open. "Thank you," Laura whispered. Rebecca's response was barely audible. "They have my sister." The words hit Laura like a physical blow. Another piece of the puzzle clicking into place. The apex predators weren't just bullies. They were recruiters. And the merchandise they dealt in was human. Outside, the Virginia sun beat down on the manicured campus. All colonial architecture and old money privilege. But Laura saw it differently now. Every shadow could hide a secret. Every tradition could mask a crime. Every smile could be bought or threatened into existence. She thought of Marcus, of his last encrypted message. "The war isn't where they tell you it is, little sis. Sometimes the real enemy is in your own backyard." At the time, she had thought he was being philosophical. Now she understood. He had found something, followed a trail that led from Afghan poppy fields to American prep schools, and they had killed him for it. The principal's office was exactly what you would expect. Dark wood, leather chairs, portraits of distinguished alumni watching from the walls. Principal Morrison sat behind his desk like a man aging in dog years, his perfectly styled hair not quite hiding the sweat at his temples. "Miss Doris," he began, his voice aiming for stern but landing on nervous. "What happened today was unprecedented, was it?" Laura sat without being invited, her posture perfect, hands folded in her lap. The picture of innocence, if you ignored the blood spatter on her shoe. How many students have filed complaints about Kevin Darius and his friends? How many have suddenly transferred? How many? That's enough. Morrison's mask slipped, showing something uglier underneath. You're new here. You don't understand how things work. The Darius family has been part of this institution for 200 years of excellence, Laura finished. I heard. Tell me, Principal Morrison, in all that excellence, how many girls have disappeared? How many families have been paid off? How many cops have looked the other way? Morrison's face went from red to white. I don't know what you think, you know. I know Kevin Darius has a tattoo with girls' names on it. I know Rebecca Chen's sister is missing. I know Officer Mitchell tried to confiscate evidence instead of securing a crime scene. And I know my brother died investigating something that connects to this school. She leaned forward. Would you like me to continue? The principal's hand shook as he reached for his desk drawer. For a moment, Laura tensed, ready for another weapon, but he only pulled out a bottle of antacids. Your mother is on her way, he said finally. Until she arrives, you're suspended pending investigation. Suspended? Laura almost laughed. For defending myself? That should play well on the evening news. Honor student suspended for not letting Senator's son assault her. I'm sure Channel 7 would love that story. Are you threatening me? I'm educating you. Laura stood. The Darius family isn't the only one with connections. My brother died a hero in Afghanistan. My mother saves lives at the VA hospital. And me? I'm just a teenage girl who knows how to protect herself and others. Which side of that story do you want to be on? Before Morrison could answer, his door burst open. Senator James Darius himself stood there, tall and silver-haired, radiating the kind of power that came from generations of never being told no. Where is she? His eyes found Laura, and she saw Kevin in him. The same predatory assessment, the same assumption of superiority. You're the animal that attacked my son. Your son pulled a blade on me, Laura said calmly, after attempting to assault me with witnesses on camera. So I'd be very careful about name-calling. Senator Darius stepped closer, using his height to loom over her, a tactic that might have worked on someone who hadn't spent years sparring with people twice her size. You have no idea who you're dealing with. His voice was soft, dangerous. I could end you, your family, everything you care about. One phone call, like you ended Melody Harrison? Laura watched his face carefully, there a flicker of surprise. He knew the name. Or Sarah Chen. How many others, Senator? How many girls have you and your son? His hand moved fast for a man his age, reaching for her throat. But Laura was faster. She stepped inside his reach, her hand finding his wrist, applying just enough pressure to a nerve cluster to make his fingers spasm open. That's assault, she said conversationally. On a minor, in front of witnesses. She glanced at Morrison, who looked like he wanted to crawl under his desk. You did see that, didn't you, Principal? Morrison's mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. Behind Darius, footsteps in the hallway. Laura's mother appeared, still in her scrubs from the hospital, her face a mask of controlled fury. Get your hands off my daughter. Denise Doris's voice could have frozen hell. She was smaller than Laura, but she carried herself like someone who had faced down death daily and won more often than not. Darius stepped back, rubbing his wrist. Your daughter defended herself against your son and his gang, Denise finished. Yes, I heard. I also heard he pulled a weapon. Would you like to explain why your boy brings blades to school, Senator? Or should we discuss that with the police? The police work for me. Darius said it like a simple fact, like saying water was wet. The local ones might. Denise smiled, and it was worse than Laura's combat smile. But the FBI doesn't. Neither does the Marine Corps Criminal Investigation Division. And they're both very interested in why my son was investigating your family before he died. The temperature in the room seemed to drop 20 degrees. Laura looked at her mother with new respect. She had known about Marcus's investigation, which meant the Grieving Widow Act had been just that, an act. Denise Doris had been planning something too. You're making a mistake. Darius's voice had lost some of its certainty. No, Denise moved to stand beside her daughter. The mistake was thinking you could hurt children in this town forever without consequences. The mistake was killing my son when he got too close to the truth. I had nothing to do with. Save it for the grand jury. Denise pulled out her phone. Agent Chen? Yes, we're ready. Bring everyone. Through Morrison's window, Laura could see black SUVs pulling into the school's circular drive. Real FBI, not local law enforcement. Parents were arriving too, drawn by social media posts that were already going viral. Rebecca's video had over 10,000 views in the first hour. This isn't over. Darius backed toward the door. You have no idea what forces you're dealing with. This goes beyond some school bullying, we know, Laura said. The trafficking, the blackmail, the international connections, the cryptocurrency payments. Did you really think you were that smart? Or just that protected? For the first time since he had entered the room, James Darius looked afraid. He turned and left without another word, pulling out his phone as he went. Laura could hear him bark orders about lawyers and containment strategies. How long have you known? Laura asked her mother once they were alone with the shell-shocked principal. Since the day they told me Marcus died. Denise's professional mask cracked slightly, showing the grief underneath. His handler contacted me, told me to wait, to watch, to let you get strong enough to protect yourself. Said when the time came, you'd know what to do. Laura touched the ring on her finger, feeling the micro SD card hidden inside. All of Marcus's work, everything he had gathered. She had studied it like other kids studied for SATs. They killed him because he found out about the girls, Laura said. They killed him because he was going to expose the whole network, Denise corrected. Richmond Elite is just one node. This thing spreads across the country. Private schools, prep academies, anywhere rich predators can hunt without consequences. Principal Morrison made a small sound of protest. They had both forgotten he was there. I didn't know, he stammered. The Darius family, they've always been. I thought it was just boys being boys. Boys being boys. Laura repeated flatly. How many girls disappeared on your watch, Morrison? How many parents did you convince to stay quiet? How many times did you look the other way? He broke then, completely. They said they'd destroy me, my career, my family. The apex predators, they're connected to something bigger, international. People who make problems disappear. Start writing. Denise pulled out a legal pad. Everything you know, every name, every incident, every cover-up. The FBI will want to talk to you, and trust me, you want to be on the right side of this. As Morrison began his confession with shaking hands, Laura walked to the window. Students were evacuating the building as more law enforcement arrived. She spotted Rebecca Chen talking to a female FBI agent, her phone still in her hand. Other students were coming forward, emboldened by the sudden shift in power, but Laura also saw the other reactions. The frightened faces of kids who knew too much. The angry glares from apex predator girlfriends who had just lost their protection. The careful blank expressions of staff members wondering if their silence would be remembered. It's not over, she said quietly. No, her mother agreed. It's just beginning. They'll fight back. They have money, lawyers, connections we haven't even discovered yet. Some of them will walk away from this. Then we make sure they don't walk far. Laura turned from the window. Marcus left more than just evidence. He left a plan, a way to build something that can't be corrupted or bought. He called it the Guardian Protocol. I know, Denise smiled sadly. He told me you'd be the one to implement it. Said his little sister was the real warrior in the family. Outside, Kevin Darius was being transferred from the ambulance to a police car. His broken nose would heal, but the charges wouldn't go away as easily. Not this time. Not with the whole world watching. Laura thought about the name on his tattoo she had recognized, Melody Harrison. By tomorrow, she would make sure everyone knew that name, and Sarah Chen, and all the others who had been silenced. Her phone buzzed. Rebecca Chen. My sister just called. She's alive. She's ready to testify, the first victory in what would be a long war. Laura typed back, tell her she's safe now. We're going to burn it all down. As if in response to her words, storm clouds gathered over Richmond Elite Academy. Change was coming, whether the old guard wanted it or not. And at the center of it stood a 17-year-old girl with her brother's ring on her finger and justice in her heart. The real fight hadn't even started yet. The command center wasn't what most people would imagine, not some high-tech FBI facility or underground bunker. Just Laura's bedroom, transformed into something Marcus would have recognized. Charts blanketed one wall, crimson threads linking photographs, dates, locations. The micro-storage device from his ring had produced terabytes of data, and she had spent every night since the incident organizing it. 3 weeks had elapsed since she had shattered Kevin Darius's nose. 3 weeks of death threats, legal battles, and shadows following her home. But also 3 weeks of survivors emerging, evidence accumulating, and a network of allies growing stronger. You need to witness this. David Kim sat at her desk, his fingers flying across 3 keyboards simultaneously. The former victim of Apex bullying had become her most valuable asset, a cyber warfare specialist who had been concealing his skills behind thick glasses and a timid demeanor. Laura moved behind him, studying the screen. What am I looking at? Kevin's hospital records. Remember he was texting after you dropped him? I traced the phone. David pulled up a message thread. He wasn't texting his father or lawyers. He was texting someone called the curator. The name sent ice through Laura's veins. Marcus's files had mentioned a curator, someone who managed the collections, who decided which girls went where, who lived, who disappeared. Can you trace it? Already did. The IP bounces through 16 proxies, but I found a pattern. Every Saturday at midnight, the signal originates from. David pulled up a blueprint of Richmond Elite Academy, the old library basement. Laura studied the architectural plans. 3 exits, ventilation system separate from the main building, electrical draw that didn't match official records. They're running something down there. Gets better. David switched screens. I hacked into the school's power grid. Every Saturday night, there's a massive spike in electricity usage. Cameras, maybe, Laura said. Or streaming equipment. They're broadcasting. Her phone buzzed. Rebecca Chen, emergency. My handler wants to pull me out. Says it's too dangerous now that they know I'm cooperating. Laura typed back. Give me 1 more week. This Saturday we end it. She turned to David. I need everything you can find about that basement. Every entrance, every camera angle, every person who has accessed it in the last year. Laura, David's voice was careful. You're planning something stupid, aren't you? Not stupid, she corrected. Necessary. They know the FBI is watching now. They'll move the operation, destroy evidence, relocate the girls. We have one shot at this. The FBI won't sanction, which is why we're not telling them until it's too late to stop us. Laura pulled out a burner phone. But we're going to tell someone else. Someone who has been waiting 40 years for this chance. Mark Rodriguez answered on the second ring. Laura, heard you've been stirring up hornets. Mark, I found it. The site Marcus was looking for. This Saturday, midnight, old library basement, silence on the line. Then, you sure? David traced their communications. They're moving everything after this week. It's now or never. The FBI will be there eventually, but someone needs to make sure evidence doesn't disappear in the 30 minutes between breach and backup arriving. Another pause. Your brother would kill me for letting you do this. My brother would be leading the charge, Laura countered. You know it, I know it. So are you in, or do I do this alone? God help me. What do you need? By Friday night, everything was in place. Rebecca had convinced her FBI handler to give them radio silence until Sunday, told them she was visiting a sick aunt out of state. David had installed his own surveillance system throughout the school, piggybacking on existing cameras. Mark had quietly reached out to 2 other former military men who had lost daughters to trafficking and never gotten justice. Laura stood in her room, strapping on the tactical vest Marcus had sent her for her 16th birthday. For paintball, he had written, but they both knew better. The vest had real armor plates, purchased with his combat pay. Her mother appeared in the doorway. I should stop you, but you won't. No, Denise moved into the room, checking Laura's gear with practiced efficiency. Because I know what happens to girls in that basement. I've treated too many of them. The ones who survive anyway. She handed Laura a small device. Panic button, GPS enabled. Direct line to FBI Tactical. You hit this, they'll come running. After 20 minutes, Laura said, assuming they're staged close enough, assuming they believe the alert, assuming you're still alive to hit it, her mother finished. I know the risks. But I also know my daughter. You're Marcus's sister. You're my child. You're a warrior born and trained. If anyone can do this, they hugged, fierce and quick, no tears. Those would come later, regardless of outcome. Saturday arrived gray and drizzling, the kind of weather that made shadows deeper and footsteps quieter. Laura moved through the campus like a ghost, her black clothes blending with the darkness between buildings. David's voice crackled in her earpiece. 2 guards at the main entrance. Apex wannabes, armed with tasers. She circled wide, approaching from the old greenhouse. Marcus had taught her that the best infiltration was the one nobody noticed until too late. The basement had 3 entrances, main door, emergency exit, and service tunnel from the boiler room. Everyone would watch the first 2. Mark's in position, David reported. His team has the emergency exit covered. Wait. Laura, we've got movement. 3 cars just pulled into the restricted lot. Big money rides. Bentley, Mercedes, Tesla, Cybertruck. The clients, Laura breathed. Their early abort? David asked, though he knew the answer. Negative. This confirms it. Whatever's happening down there, it's happening now. The service tunnel was a nightmare of steam pipes and cobwebs. Laura belly crawled through decades of dust, following the blueprint burned into her memory. Voices echoed from somewhere ahead, laughter, music, the clink of glasses. A party atmosphere that made her skin crawl. Fresh acquisitions tonight, a man's voice drifted through a ventilation grate. The curator promises something special. International buyers are logged in from Dubai, Moscow, Sao Paulo. Laura positioned her phone camera at the grate, starting a live stream to David's secure server. Whatever happened next, there would be evidence. The main room opened below her, a space that shouldn't exist according to official records. 60 feet by 40, expensively furnished like an underground club. Leather couches, full bar, a small stage with professional lighting. And cameras, so many cameras. Men in $1,000 suits mingled with college-age boys. Apex predators playing host to their mentors in monstrosity. Laura recognized judges, businessmen, even a congressman from the next district. But no girls. Not yet. Ladies and gentlemen, Kevin Darius took the stage, his nose still bandaged, but his confidence restored. Welcome to the Richmond Elite Quarterly Showcase. Before we begin tonight's entertainment, a word about recent disruptions. Appreciative chuckles from the audience. Laura's hand tightened on her phone. Some of you have expressed concern about the federal attention. Let me assure you it's handled. The FBI thinks they've found a simple bullying ring. They have no idea about our real operations. After tonight, we relocate to our sister site in Connecticut. Business continues as usual. What about the Doris girl? Someone called out. Kevin's smile was pure poison. Being dealt with as we speak. Tragic home invasion. Whole family gone. These things happen in bad neighborhoods. Laura's blood froze. Her mother. She grabbed her phone to warn her, but David's voice cut through. Already on it. Mark's second team is at your house. Your mom's safe. Relief flooded through her, followed by rage. They had just confirmed attempting to murder her family. Every word being recorded, streaming to multiple servers. Now then, Kevin continued. Let's begin. Bring them out. A hidden door opened. 5 girls emerged, ranging from 14 to maybe 18, drugged, terrified, dressed in private school uniforms from different academies. Laura recognized Sarah Chen, Rebecca's sister, stumbling between 2 guards. Bidding opens at $50,000, Kevin announced. Remember, gentlemen, these are premium products. Educated, clean, properly broken in. Full psychological profiles available. Laura had heard enough. She activated the panic button, then kicked out the ventilation grate. The drop was 12 feet. She landed in a roll, came up running. The room erupted in chaos. Shouts, alarms, men scattering like roaches when the light hits. But Laura wasn't interested in the buyers. She had one target. Kevin saw her coming. His hand went to his jacket. Another blade, because some people never learned. But Laura had learned plenty. She didn't give him time to draw it. Running leap, flying knee to the chest. Kevin went down hard, his head bouncing off the stage. Everybody freeze! Laura shouted, though she knew they wouldn't. Rich men in illegal auctions rarely followed orders from teenage girls. FBI is en route. Exits are covered. Your best bet is to surrender. Gunfire cut her off. Not from the clients, from the guards. Professional security, not college boys playing tough. Laura dove behind the bar as bottles exploded above her head. Northwest corner, 2 shooters. David's voice remained calm. Mark's breaching in 30 seconds. 30 seconds was forever in a firefight. Laura grabbed a bottle. Top-shelf vodka, what a waste, and lobbed it toward the shooters. It shattered near their position, alcohol vapors filling the air. She followed with a lighter from the bar, stolen from some patron's abandoned jacket. The whoosh of flame bought her seconds. She vaulted the bar, staying low, making for the girls. Sarah Chen stood frozen in the chaos, her drugged mind trying to process what was happening. Sarah, it's Laura, Rebecca's friend. We're getting you out. Recognition flickered. Sarah stumbled toward her, just as the main door exploded inward. Mark Rodriguez and 2 other men in tactical gear swept in, weapons raised. Everybody on the ground! Now, some complied. Others ran for exits they would soon discover were blocked. But one figure moved with purpose toward the girls, not fleeing, but hunting, the curator. Laura had expected another entitled rich man. Instead, she faced a woman in her 40s, elegantly dressed, cold eyes calculating escape routes and acceptable losses. "You must be the Doris girl." Her accent was vaguely European, unplaceable. "Marcus spoke of you before he died. Said you were the dangerous one in the family. You knew my brother?" "I killed your brother," she said simply, like discussing weather. He was getting too close. Bad for business. Nothing personal. The rage that flooded through Laura was beyond anything she had felt before. But rage made you stupid, and stupid got you dead. Marcus had taught her that too. "Tell me," the curator continued, drawing a small pistol from her clutch. "Was this about justice or revenge?" "Both," Laura admitted, circling slowly, keeping the drugged girls behind her. "But mostly about making sure you never hurt anyone again. Noble. Naive. Do you know how many sites like this exist? How many powerful men need our services? You've accomplished nothing except signing your own death warrant." "Maybe," Laura agreed. "But you first," the curator raised her weapon. Laura moved. Time slowed again, the gun swinging toward her, her hand finding the tactical knife on her vest. Marcus's knife, the one he had carried through 3 deployments. The throw was perfect, practiced 1,000 times in their backyard. The curator's shot went wide as the blade took her in the shoulder, spinning her around. Her gun clattered away as Laura closed the distance, following up with a palm strike that dropped the woman to her knees. "That's for Marcus," Laura said quietly. FBI agents flooded the room, late, but not too late. The curator laughed even as they cuffed her, blood running down her designer dress. "You have no idea what you've started, little girl. The people I work for don't forgive, don't forget. You'll be looking over your shoulder for the rest of your very short life." "Probably," Laura agreed. "But you'll be doing it from a federal prison, and every girl you would have sold will be living free. I'll take that trade." The aftermath was chaos. 23 arrests on site, including Kevin Darius and 6 other apex predators. The congressman tried to claim diplomatic immunity he didn't have. 2 judges were caught on camera negotiating prices for human beings. The curator, real name Natasha Vulov, was linked to similar operations in 8 countries. But the real victory came in the weeks that followed. 47 girls came forward, some missing for years, others saved just in time. Families reunited, stories told, justice that couldn't be bought or threatened away. Laura sat in Principal Morrison's former office. He had resigned in disgrace, watching the news coverage with Rebecca and David. Richmond elite. Academy would survive but transformed. New leadership, new policies, and a very different kind of legacy. "So what now?" Rebecca asked. The curator was right. "There are more sites, more predators. Then we find them," Laura said simply. "All of them." The Guardian Protocol, David pulled up a secure website he had designed. Marcus's vision, your implementation. A network of students, survivors, and allies, watching, protecting, fighting back. How many schools have signed on? 53 as of this morning. 200 more requesting information. Turns out a lot of people have been waiting for something like this. They just needed someone to show them it was possible. Laura touched her brother's ring, thinking of all the fights ahead. The curator's network was wounded but not dead. There would be retaliation, revenge, attempts to resurrect what they had destroyed. But there would also be an army of guardians ready to meet them. 6 months later, Laura stood at Arlington National Cemetery. Marcus's grave was covered in fresh flowers, not just from family anymore. Messages from girls he had never met but had died trying to save. Thank you cards from parents who had their daughters back. "Mission continues, big brother," she said quietly. "Different battlefield, same war. The monsters are real, but so are the heroes. And we're making more of them every day." Her phone buzzed. Another school requesting Guardian Protocol training. Another survivor ready to become a protector. Another chance to turn pain into power. She looked at the inscription on Marcus's headstone. Semper Fidelis. Always faithful. Below it, someone had added a new line. His sister keeps the watch. Laura smiled through her tears. Yeah, she did. And she wasn't watching alone anymore, thanks to Marcus. Thanks to the Guardian Protocol. Thanks to every survivor who refused to stay silent. That number grew every single day. The war wasn't over. It might never be truly over. But for the first time since Marcus died, Laura knew they were winning. The walk from Marcus's grave took her past Section 60, where too many young heroes rested. Laura paused, recognizing names from her brother's unit. Warriors who had fought obvious enemies in distant lands, never knowing the war had followed them home. Her phone rang. "Mom?" "The president wants to meet you," Denise said without preamble. "The Guardian Protocol is going federal. Homeland Security wants to implement it nationwide." "Tell them no," Laura said immediately. "The moment the government touches it, it becomes political, corrupted." "Everything Marcus feared. That's what I told them you'd say." Her mother's voice carried pride. "So what's the alternative?" "We stay grassroots. We stay pure. Every school chapter is independent but connected. No politicians, no bureaucrats, no chance for the system to rot from inside." Laura reached her car, looking back at the sea of white headstones. Marcus didn't trust institutions. He trusted people, individual warriors choosing to stand guard. "The curator's trial starts next month. You'll need to testify." "I'll be there," Laura promised. "With 50 Guardian Protocol members in the gallery. Let her see what she started. Let them all see, because that was the truth the predators never understood. Every atrocity created its own opposition. Every victim could become a victor. Every Marcus who fell inspired a Laura to rise. The war continued. But the battlefield had changed forever, and somewhere, in whatever came after, Master Sergeant Marcus Doris was smiling. Semper Fi, indeed.